Hi, folks. Welcome to today's training. If you could, just so we know that you can hear us okay, can you press 1 on your phone keypad, and we'll see a virtual hand go up on our console, and we'll know that you can hear us. So just press 1 on your phone keypad if you can hear. Great. I see a bunch of hands going up. Excellent. I'll put those down. My name is John. I work in digital strategies here at AFL-CIO, and I'm now going to hand it over to Danielle, who's going to take it from here.
Great. Can I bring it full screen?
Yes, you can. Full screen is fine.
Okay.
Actually, let's go over here. Hello. There, full screen.
There we go.
Okay, it's all yours, Danielle.
There we go. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for Twitter 101, how to get started with setting up a Twitter account. Perhaps you were with me on my earlier presentation on how to use Hootsuite to manage your Twitter account, and you want to learn more Twitter basics, or, if so, welcome back to you. But like most of you, you've probably likely heard a lot about Twitter. You may have often seen hashtags on screens during your favorite TV shows, and you want to learn, what the heck they're all about. You're in the right place, and you'll definitely learn more about all that in our next 60 minutes together. So let me start out by telling you who I am. I'm Danielle Hatchett, social media specialist here at the AFL-CIO. I've been, responsible for the hands-on management of all the Federation's social media properties for about the past 6.5 years. I helped take our Twitter account. When I took it over, it had a couple of followers to over 50,000 followers that we have now. And I took over the Federation's accounts with pretty much little to no experience running organizational accounts. I just had experience, using Twitter for personal interactions. So the past several years, I pretty much taught myself everything that I know now about using this tool, and you could certainly do the same too. So today, hopefully I'll get you off to a good start doing that. So our objective for today is just to simply understand the utility of Twitter and learn practical tips to maximize your use, and also to learn to use Twitter strategically to connect with influentials and to build up your community to support your causes. So let's talk about our agenda a bit today, rough agenda. We're going to ask, what is Twitter? Look at a few Twitter statistics, and hopefully answer the question of why it's beneficial to be on Twitter. Then we'll talk about using Twitter to advance your mission. Understanding a bit, we'll go behind the scenes, understanding a bit about the mechanics of Twitter and how to use Twitter. Learning about the kinds of things you can tweet. Then talking about interacting and building followers. Once you're on Twitter, how do you, interact with people? How do you build your following? Then we'll go over a few last tips of trade. And then we'll do a little exercise together where we'll look at 2 sets of tweets and decide who did it best. And then at the end, we'll have a little Q&A. And so you can hold any questions until then. And I know that you'll probably have a lot of them. So let's jump right in. We have really a lot to discuss today. What is Twitter? So although you may have heard passing, of all the great uses of Twitter, you still may be kind of wondering, what's in it for you? Why should I tell people what I have for breakfast, or what incredibly interesting thing that I'm doing at this moment that everyone else should wish they were doing? You really want to know how you can use it to keep up with updates from your union, perhaps, before you get that newsletter in your inbox or you attend a meeting. Or maybe you want to keep up with national news, which often breaks first on Twitter. Or perhaps you want to learn to use it better to help your organization engage the community, or mobilize people to come out to an event, or perhaps just enhance communications between your local and the public. Twitter is just another tool in your communications toolkit that can help you do all of this and more. So let's just take a look at a basic definition of Twitter. Twitter is a free microblogging tool that you can access from the web, from your phone, or from your desktop. And users can send short text-based messages of up to 140 characters. So all your tweets cannot be any more than 140 characters. So let's take a look at what Twitter is and what Twitter isn't. And when I give a shout out to Doug Foote of Working America, who kind of put together this handy chart for us. We've used it in past trainings. And I think it's a pretty effective way to kind of do a side-by-side comparison of things that Twitter is and Twitter isn't. So Twitter is a real-time news source. Most major news outlets worth their salt have a Twitter presence and break news there first. Twitter is also a way to connect directly with your members of your union perhaps, or your friends. You need to go where they are. Twitter is an amplification tool. To be clear, it's a tool, not a strategy. Twitter is also a feedback mechanism to gain immediate insight. If you tweet something, people will definitely immediately let you reply and let you know what they think. Twitter is also a great way to build credibility as a trusted source for news. And also, let's look at what Twitter is not. Twitter is not Facebook. I repeat, Twitter is not Facebook, although they're kind of starting to look alike. It's still two totally different tools, two totally different languages and terms that are used. So that's why I just as an aside, I highly discourage auto posting from Facebook to Twitter and vice versa. I know it saves time for the busy communications professional. Your one person team, and you want to just post one thing and have it go to both places. But people on Twitter are really turned off by Twitter. But people on Facebook, I should say, are turned off by Twitter speak posted there and vice versa. And this causes people to hide your updates. So they're two very different tools, and you should craft your updates specifically for each platform. Also, Twitter is not a communication new media plan. It is a tool, again, that can be used as part of those comprehensive plans. Twitter is, lastly, and this is, kind of goes without saying, a excuse to be sloppy or with tone or with grammar. Remember that, your followers will be retweeting your tweets. We'll talk about what retweeting is in a bit. They'll be retweeting your tweets to their followers with your handle attached. And we've already talked about credibility. Grammatically incorrect tweets do not build credibility. So you can start a Twitter account as an individual or as an organization or a combination of the two, which would be kind of like, if you start a personal account that speaks as a representative of your organization. Sort of like a union president starting an account or a subject matter expert at organization starting a Twitter account. So let's take a moment to go through the differences between personal and organizational accounts. A personal account will allow you to kind of connect with your friends we talked about before, follow topics that interest you, build your personal brand. If you're, specialist in something, you can use Twitter to send out tweets to kind of build up that following, to build up your brand as a subject matter expert in that area. You can also use it to share your work. If you're, a blogger or writer, or, you write on different avenues, you can use it to share your blog posts and your news that you write about. You can also use it to expand your network and to get breaking news. So say you can, again, set up a personal Twitter account and still share news from your organization, as we talked about. So many people that identify in their bios that they work for an organization still want to maintain the individuality. So they may put the disclaimer that all tweets are my own. For example, let me just give you an example of this. Everyone in our communications department is on Twitter, and they have their own handles. And so they share updates and info about the AFL-CIO. But in their bios, they all have a similar disclaimer about their tweets or thoughts being their own. Because sometimes, they might want to comment on what they've had for lunch, their favorite sports team, what they did on their vacation. And they want it to be understood they are not tweeting for the AFL-CIO at that time. So something that you should keep in mind if you decide to set up your own personal account and just share news from your organization, or you're identifying yourself as a business representative or, business manager of a certain union, you want to just keep in mind that you should probably have maybe that disclaimer and, just so people know that you're tweeting, for yourself. For those of you who will be tweeting as your organization, setting up this kind of account will allow you to connect with members, understand what people are talking about, build your audience, share your work, engage with allies and press, and to have, simple conversations with people. And we'll get more into depth with these a little bit later. So let's talk about Twitter statistics. So Twitter has over 1 billion registered users, 255 million of which are active in any given month. The average user spends about 170 minutes per month on Twitter, and users send about an average of 500 million tweets on any given day. And you know how I mentioned that there are various ways to access Twitter, but most people at a rate of 78% are using Twitter from their phones via a mobile app. And just a few more stats. 80% of the world's leaders use Twitter. President Obama actually has the most followers of them all with over 45 million followers. And this one may surprise you a bit. The fastest growing demographic on Twitter are boomers, 54 to 64 years of age. There has been a 79% growth in the amount of folks that in that age range signing up for Twitter since 2012. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're, depending on who your audience is, deciding whether you want to use Twitter as a platform. So thinking about why you should have a presence on Twitter. A Pew study found that 50% of people are going to get their news from digital sources. And, as we're trying to speak more to our young workers, just making a note that 1/3 of people get their news from, 1/3 of young workers, the people in the young worker age range, get their news from social networks. News tends to break first on Twitter. So, most if not, as I mentioned, most if not all news outlets have Twitter accounts and will often break the news there first, even before they have the chance to get an article up or a television broadcast put together, to avoid being scooped. Because as we know, there's much value in being the first to report something. So putting news out on Twitter is also a way to reach worldwide audiences in a way that television broadcasts may not be able to do. So to kind of put this into present day context, when the events in Ferguson, Missouri first broke, it was through Twitter that information was being disseminated before mainstream media even picked up on it. So now there are reporters and regular citizens on the ground using Twitter to keep folks abreast of the happenings in real time. And not to mention, a lot of mainstream media outlets often mine tweets for reporting for their stories. So, as we can say, the revolution is being tweeted. Okay, at last check, 435 members of Congress on Twitter. As you can see with these tweets, they are there for targeting, for praise, or for calling out. When these tweets are sent out by the North Carolina State Fed and Working America, those that follow them would see these tweets, as well as those that may do a search on Twitter for the congressperson's handle, or if they happen to take a look at the congressperson's mentions, they would see these tweets. Most journalists and news organizations use Twitter search and other methods of monitoring to keep up with the conversation around congressional representatives. At least 73% of Fortune 500 companies have active Twitter accounts. I think it may be actually even more now. Twitter can also be used to launch a campaign calling out corporations like this one from striking fast food workers in, ironically, Ferguson, Missouri, during their campaign against McDonald's. So anyone following Missouri Jobs with Justice, who are the ones that sent this tweet, if they did that did a search for McDonald's would see these tweets. So again, anyone that's following Missouri Jobs with Justice or anyone doing a search for McDonald's will see this tweet. We're all likely familiar with the ongoing campaign to get Walmart to pay livable wages and treat workers fairly. And Twitter has also been a major tool in the communication strategy of this campaign as well. So let's talk about specific ways you can choose Twitter to advance your mission. Twitter can be used to promote your organization's content, although just making a note that this should only account for maybe a small percentage of your tweets, maybe like 20 to 30%. The remaining percentage should be about sharing others' content in order to help build relationships. You can also use Twitter to share blog posts, news articles, or photos and video content from your website. You can use Twitter to also build relationships with labor organizations, community partners, politicians, or other allies in the progressive movement. And this is the other 70 to 80% I was talking about. Tweet and retweet their content to establish a reciprocal relationship. You can also use Twitter to engage with the public. The press, influential people with a lot of followers, thought leaders, activists, and supporters are all there on Twitter ready for you to engage and to get feedback from. If you have a policy or other subject matter experts on your staff, they should be on Twitter as well. As you know, here at the AFL-CIO, we have, people from our policy department, international affairs, our trade, student loan, immigration experts. They're all on Twitter with personal accounts that we can amplify through the main AFL-CIO Twitter account. So now that you're thoroughly convinced that you must be on Twitter, I know you're wondering how to get set up. So let's take a minute and go through the mechanics of it all. And let's start with some basic Twitter terminology. So as we mentioned, a tweet is simply a 140-character message sent via Twitter. And then we have feed or stream. Those are your posts on Twitter from people you follow. And they're commonly referred to as your Twitter feed, your Twitter stream, or your timeline. So these are the tweets that show up on your homepage. We'll look at more in depth of your Twitter homepage in a minute. So comparatively, your feed or stream will kind of be like your news feed on Facebook, to kind of give you some context there. So your followers are the people, individuals, or organizations that are connected to you and reading your tweets. And they have, those are the ones that have come to your profile and they press the follow button. They want to see what you have to say on Twitter, so they followed you. So those are considered your followers. And it's kind of, if someone has chosen to follow you, then they can also choose to unfollow you, which would be the same. It's kind of in the same vein as somebody subscribing from your email list. Following, these are the people whose tweets you have selected to read. So you've gone to their profile, or you've seen them in your feed and you've elected, you want to see more of what they have to say, so you follow their tweets. So those tweets are going to appear in your Twitter stream. A direct message, or a DM as it's called, is kind of the equivalent of Twitter email. It's a private message sent between you and another Twitter user. And you can only send direct messages to those people that are following you. They've come and chosen to follow you, so those are the only people that you're able to direct message. The @sign, that's a very, very important code on Twitter. So when you use the @ combined with someone's username and you put it into tweets, that's kind of referring to that person or sending them a public message. A retweet, you've heard me mention this, retweet or RT is kind of reposting something that's already in your Twitter stream. So it's usually preceded by a RT and with the username that we just mentioned to give credit to the original poster. You read a good tweet, say, you kind of use this when you read a good tweet in your Twitter stream and you think your followers who may not be following that tweeter should see it also, you will retweet it. It's kind of the equivalent of sharing a post on Facebook or forwarding an email to a friend. And I'm just going to spend quite a bit of time here with hashtags because they're a very, very important construct of Twitter. Hashtags are a very way to kind of extend conversations and turn Twitter into a real-time, enormous search engine. Hashtags are words, letters, strung together and preceded by the # or the hash symbol. And people insert them into their tweets, either the beginning or the end of their tweets, usually at the end, on Twitter. And they're a way for Twitterers to categorize their tweets by topic. Hashtags basically serve as a label, allowing other people to search on Twitter and quickly find tweets relating to a given subject. So making tweets with common topics searchable is a key purpose of hashtags. It's basically a user convention, a way of organizing tweets. So with so many different words available to label any given topic, the hashtag is designed to get everyone who is talking about a common subject to agree to use the same keyword in their tweets. So it's really a good tool that's used at large scale events like, recent Netroots Nation or South by Southwest. So we used, hashtags at our convention. So people that are not there and people that even are there can use them to follow the conversation. So as I mentioned, hashtags can be placed anywhere in a tweet. Usually it's at the, middle or the end of the tweet, but, sometimes you can put them at the beginning. Just note you can create your own hashtags, and there are ones that are kind of established, like 1U and 1U Digital that we use for this training series. Therefore, anyone who does a search on Twitter for, hashtag 1U Digital or hashtag 1U will find all the tweets that people have sent using these hashtags. Remember when I mentioned, your television shows having a hashtags up on screen while you're watching? You may have, seen those and wondered what they are. I'll use an example of a show I love called Scandal. It's a great example. It's probably, one of the most live tweeted shows, out there. And we'll talk about live tweeting in a second, but it's simply tweeting in real time while an event is occurring. But the hashtag is simply, hashtag Scandal. And everyone can look at that hashtag during and after the show to see what everyone is live tweeting about it. And the creator and the staff and those at ABC are, usually, of course, very interested in the buzz. And it will be harder to track, sentiment around and all the tweets that will be going on, what people are saying about the show, if not for the hashtags. So that kind of puts it in perspective again. And simply to create a hashtag, you just place the hash symbol in front of a keyword in your tweet. It can be, either a keyword or it could be a symbol, series of letters. Like I think the one for Netroots Nation was NN14. So you want to definitely also keep it as short as possible because it can only does count towards your 140 characters. So that's also something to keep in mind. And one last thing is don't include more than 1 or 2 hashtags in a tweet. Tweets with 1 or 2 hashtags usually have a 21% higher engagement than those that have 3 or more. So when a tweet contains 3 or more hashtags, it usually has about a 17% drop in engagement. So keep it to 1 or 2 hashtags in a tweet. And also remember, you only have 140 characters, so if you're putting 3 and 4 hashtags, you're taking away from real content and real context of the tweet because you have less characters. So 1 or 2 hashtags usually is a good amount to shoot for. And let's look at a few more Twitter terms. Favorite means to mark a tweet to come back and read it later. Essentially, it's kind of like bookmarking it. You can favorite a tweet by clicking a star next to the tweet. So you'll see that there. There'll be a star next to when you click that, and it's kind of like bookmarking because you want to save it for later. MT is means modified tweet. So say you want to retweet something, but it will go over the character limit by the time you add the RT in the original tweeter's handle. You may choose to modify the tweet a bit. You may take out some words, perhaps. And then you want to change the RT to an MT to let people know that you're retweeting, but you modify the tweet a bit. Hashtag FF or Follow Friday is kind of a weekly meme done on Fridays where you recommend an account that you think others should follow. And these tweets usually contain a Twitter handle and a short description of why the person is worthy of a follow and the FF hashtag. ICYMI means in case you missed it. If you see this in a tweet, it usually means that this tweet has been, this content has been shared before, and the person is simply sharing again. So in case you missed it, here's this great information again. So now that you're familiar with the terminology, it's time to get started. So it's pretty simple to sign up. Here's a rough screenshot of the page that you sign up on, and you find that at twitter.com. And you just go here, and it's a pretty simple page, pretty straightforward information. You can put your name, email address, and you choose a username. So talking about choosing a username was, if you're doing from an organizational standpoint, the username will be some form of your organization's acronym. Like of course AFL-CIO or SAG-AFTRA for the Screen Actors Guild, AFTRA. So or if you have a personal account, a version of your name is best. So note that, just want to take a moment here to make this very important point, that if you have not yet claimed your organization's Twitter handle, you want to do it now, even if you have no plans to start tweeting right away. Back when we decided to start up President Trump's Twitter account, we found that some random person had already set up an account with his name, his Twitter handle. And, just to note that parody accounts are allowed as long as somewhere in the bio they indicate that, not really acting as that person. So many times people don't take the time to read the bios where you put that information, so they think that this is really that person tweeting. So when we found this account, this person was really tweeting as if they were President Trump, even though they had in the bio that, this is a parody account. But, people really thought that was President Trump, and the account had a lot of followers. So we had to go through, Twitter's help center and get a couple of our contacts involved to regain control of the handle. So, avoid doing all that by just simply laying claim to the username that you desire as quickly as possible. And it's taken into account when you choose a Twitter name, it's best to really keep it as short as possible. Remember, there are only 140 characters in a tweet, and your Twitter username or handle, as it's called, are included in those 440 characters. So when people are tweeting or retweeting you, it's having a shorter handle is always very helpful. So if you are setting up an organizational account, you will want to pay particular attention to setting up your Twitter profile. You can upload an icon or a profile pic that will be displayed with your tweets and a cover photo. The profile icon, as you can see here, should be about 400 by 400. And for an organizational account, it's typically your logo, which is a recognizable part of your brand. And when people see it in their timeline, they can associate it with your organization. And if it's a personal account, it's often, like a photo of yourself. It doesn't have to be a professional headshot or, photo like that, but one that kind of best represents who you are and how you want to be represented with each of your tweets. And the cover photo, as you can see, is kind of similar to the one you see on Facebook fan pages or even now your own personal Facebook page. It's something Twitter implemented a year or so ago, and they recently enlarged the size requirements. For organizations, it's kind of another opportunity to extend your brand visually and tell users who you are when they visit your Twitter profile. If you're setting up a personal account, you can choose an image that best represents what you personally are about. I've included a screenshot here of Secretary Treasurer Schuler's profile, where you can see where she has included a picture where she was probably at a labor meeting or conference where there was a visual note taker. And this picture kind of represents notes from a discussion on changing the perception of the labor movement, which she's she's heavily involved in and invested in. So this is a perfect photo for her to use as her Twitter header profile photo. So you can upload the cover photo. And you can upload the cover photo at a size of 1500 by 500 for optimal viewing. So once your account is all set up with your icon and background, your profile will look complete like the one you see here. Here's a lay of the land. Let's just kind of go over a couple features of the Twitter profile. So starting at the top left, you'll see are your options. So home is where you view the tweets from people who have chosen to follow. So it's like your personal collection of tweets, featuring the latest news, commentary, and information from the sources you care about. So the people whose profiles you've gone to and you decide to follow them, this is where you're going to see all of your tweets. And we'll look at the home page in a bit more detail in a second. Notifications, next to that is where you'll see all the interactions that have occurred on your account. Who has tweeted you, who has retweeted you, who has followed you, who's favored one of your tweets. Any interactions that people have taken from your account, you can click notifications to see it there. Next to that is, with a nice little hashtag next to it, is Discover. And Discover simply lets you tap into a stream of useful and entertaining information that Twitter has, customized specifically for you. So it's essentially what Twitter thinks you should see based on what you've been tweeting about. When you use Discover, you'll see results reflecting your interests based on and it's also based on your current location, what you follow and what's happening in the world. And as you use Twitter more, I think that they say Discover gets better at serving up, kind of content that they think you want to see. I don't dig around in Discover too much, but it's there, if you want to kind of see what Twitter thinks you would enjoy looking at. The next is the Me section, which essentially is kind of takes you back right where you are to your profile section. This is available on other pages of the site, so that's why they have it here as well. And others, this is where you see, where your interests are kind of front and center. Others can tweet directly to you from here, and they can view your list, your favorites, your followers, your photos, and more. And it's also where you can stay current on your direct message conversations. When people, again, have sent you a private message, and you can get to your direct messages from here as well. Continuing across the top there, next to it, we have the search function, where you can enter any of the search terms or hashtags we mentioned earlier. The search function on Twitter can be your best friend. 2.1 billion queries are sent through Twitter search engines daily. And you can search hashtags or follow conversations, search specific keywords or Twitter handles. And underneath the profile photo on the left there is your bio that I spoke of earlier. And your bio is 160 characters where you describe yourself or the organization that you're with. And you can include a link to another outside website or a blog. In order to be found in Twitter searches, you want to kind of include, keywords about yourself or your organization in your bio. And think about, be specific here, and think about, be strategic here rather, and be deliberate about optimizing your Twitter content and your profile for the keywords people will most likely to be using. So, of course, labor and work, these kinds of things, basic kind of terms that people will be searching for. You want to include those in your Twitter bio so that people more easily find you. So here we're using union movement, working families. Those are kind of the keywords that we want people to, if they're searching, they can land on our profile. So under your bio, you have you can't really see it, there's a little bit cut off because I wanted to make sure to get the cover photo in clear. But you can kind of see there you have all, your recent media that you posted, your videos and pics that we've uploaded. You can see them there. And underneath right underneath the cover photo there is kind of basic information about your account that we've kind of gone over. How many tweets you've sent, how many people you're following, how many photos and videos you've uploaded, how many people are following you, those kinds of basic things about your Twitter account. And as you can see down in the main part of the screen, there are the tweets simply the tweets that you've sent out. So if people come to your profile and want to catch up on your timeline and see what you've been tweeting, they can come and look at it there. So we're going to go back and take a look at the home page a bit. This is where you land again when you click on the home button at the top of your page. So the main difference, just kind of differentiate, the main difference between the home page and the profile is that on your home page, you see tweets from all the people that you follow. So these are not your tweets. These are the people, again, that you follow. And again, on your profile, all the tweets that you have sent are laid out there. So think of it as your Facebook profile versus your main Facebook news feed. So here's some other features you'll find on the home page. Your info section includes info you would also find in your profile, like the number of tweets you sent and the number of followers you have and the people that you follow. Underneath that are suggestions on who to follow based on the accounts that are followed by other users and visits to other sites in the Twitter ecosystem. So again, Twitter's algorithm tells you who they think you might like to follow based on who you're already following and the kinds of things that you're searching for and that kind of thing. Underneath that are trending topics, and that represents what is most discussed on Twitter at any particular time. So these are often national, and I think you can change those. They could be location based as well. I think they're mostly location based these days, but they can also be, I think what it is, you can also choose them to be location based or national trending topics. So you can decide which ones you would like to see. But again, they're national or regional trending topics, and they can range from serious things like, Ferguson or Mike Brown to what the latest celebrity has done. When they've done something crazy, you'll see their name mostly trending up there. So it just depends what's going on Twitter at any given time. And I remember we made it to the national trending topics back in 2009 when President Obama was speaking at the convention. I think AFL-CIO was in the trending topics, so President Obama at AFL-CIO since it had effect. So a couple other things to show you at the top. Settings right there, that's a very important place for you to check out back there, spend some time back there. And that's where all of your back-end functions like changing your profile photo, your bio information, and much more. So definitely spend some time, familiarize yourself with what's underneath there. And lastly, on the right there, another important function, that blue button there, looks like a pen, kind of a feather pen there. That's your compose feature, and that's where you click to send a tweet if you are tweeting from the web. So let's get into nitty-gritty here. Let's look at the anatomy of a tweet. Remember, you only have 140 characters, so as you type the text into the compose box that I just mentioned earlier, there's kind of a countdown to show you how many spaces you have, how much space you have remaining, or how many characters you have left. So let's look at this tweet from Working America, sharing an article on teachers unions. So they include the title of the article, and then a link to the article is then input into a link shortening service called Bitly. And you can find Bitly at Bitly. And that's Bitly. You can put the long link that you have. Say you're reading a news article and you grab the link at the top. You put it into this service, which is very easy to use, called Bitly, and it returns with a shortened link. And of course, you want to use a shortened link because that's better for your 140 character limit. And so Bitly also, if you sign up and with an account, you can sign up using your Twitter account. It gives you analytics on how the link performs. Say you're putting a blog post up and you have the long link. You put the link into Bitly to shorten it, and then you can go back later to see how many people have actually clicked through on that link or actually looked at that link. So Bitly is a really good service to get familiar with. So it gives you good analytics on how many people click the link, where they're coming from, how many people share the link. So Bitly is definitely Bitly.com is definitely a service you want to check out once you get more familiar with Twitter. So after the Bitly link, they've included the One You and the Thank a Teacher hashtags, which were big around that time that this was going on. So anyone searching for conversations around union issues or supporting educators will find this article. So it's extending the conversation behind the people following Working America. And they also mentioned AFT President Randi Weingarten's handle so that she sees the article in case she wants to retweet it. Since she's the president, she's interested in education issues, and she has a lot of followers in case she wants to retweet this article and share it as well. So that there pretty much is your basic anatomy of most tweets you would send. So say you wanted to send this tweet directly to Randi Weingarten. Say that you didn't want anyone else to see it. You just wanted the people that follow you and follow Randi to see this tweet. So this is simply done by putting her handle at the beginning and including the rest of the tweet in the hashtag. So that's called a direct tweet. You're directly tweeting at somebody that's following you. And so again, only the people that follow you and follow Randi Weingarten will be able to see this tweet as it's tweeted here. So if Randi Weingarten decided she wanted to retweet this post and share it with her followers, she would simply start the tweet with a RT at Working America to indicate that Working America originally sent this tweet, but I'm just resharing it. And with the regular 6 ways teacher unions are good for kids title, and with the link and with the hashtags at the end. And that's just simply a retweet. That's considered an old style retweet though. So there's old style retweets and new style retweets. So this is considered a basic old style quote unquote retweet. New style retweets. Or you can do what's called the new style retweet. There's a button that looks like 2 arrows. You can see it there underneath the top tweet there. Looks like 2 arrows in a box, and you click it and you automatically retweet the whole post that you want to share. So you don't have to go in and manually add that retweet like I just showed you back in the old style. And it just will be shared into your timeline. It'll show that we retweeted by AFL-CIO, so it shows that we retweeted this. And so people that they may not follow Brenda McKillen, but they'll see it in their timelines now because they follow us because we've shared it. So you can kind of just decide whether you want to do the old style. It's really a matter of personal preference. I mean, there's pluses and minuses to both, but it just you kind of want to just figure out which one is best for you, and it's also depending on the tweet as well. I think the best way kind of to learn the anatomy of tweets is kind of just to check out some active union and progressive accounts and watch the way they tweet before jumping in if you're still unsure. So now that you have an idea of the mechanics of how to tweet, you may be wondering what kind of tweets you'd send to get your organization noticed, build your following, and get folks retweeting your content. So we talked about this a bit. Share your blog post. Interesting ways. Don't be afraid to brag about the good work that your union is doing. As your union movement is under attack, tweets like this from the ironworkers let people know that, about all the good work we're doing, and, that's very important. But again, keep this to about 20 to 30% of your tweets. You don't want your Twitter feed to become one long, look at us, look what we're doing. People will tire of that. Twitter is a two-way conversation for most accounts. News accounts are usually an exception to this, but it's, two-way conversation, so you don't want to just say us. You want to say us and we. You want to include other posts too, but don't be afraid to share your blog posts, because, that's definitely one of the things that Twitter is good for. You can also use Twitter to respond to national news and tragic events and, provide helpful resources. During this tragedy, we sent our thoughts and prayers, and then followed with another tweet with a link to resources we compiled to help those in need. And we also said something we rarely do. We asked people to retweet the post to be sure to spread the word. So that's kind of similar to asking people on Facebook to share a post. And this should only be done on Twitter with really compelling, action-oriented content, or an event you really want to get out there. If you can constantly asking people to share mundane content, they will start to ignore you. So really, definitely use this wisely. But definitely do ask, and people will do it. Tweets that ask for the retweet get 12% higher retweets than those that don't. So definitely don't be afraid to clearly say, please retweet this, but make sure that it's content that's, should be retweeted. Don't ask people to retweet your, everyday, newsletter or, everyday content. Make sure it's something that's action-oriented and something you definitely want to get out there. If you're having an event or a Twitter chat, which we'll talk about in a bit, those are things that are definitely good to ask people to share. Sharing news items just as you would blog posts. Most mornings I will send out, a few tweets with articles for our press clips that the comms department compiles. And it's really a good way to build credibility and be seen as a resource. And whenever possible, include the handle for that news site or the journalist's name that wrote it. It's a really great way to build relations. Journalists need eye on their content as well. And one thing to know with this tweet is the P2 hashtag used here. That's another common hashtag used for progressive issues. So hashtag 1U for union issues and hashtag P2 for progressive issues are good ones to keep in mind if you want to just, get started with hashtags. Those are just basic common hashtags to start checking out progressive issues. Go beyond the press release. You want to share news from your union president, especially if they're on Twitter, and you can include their handles to let people know that they are there. So this tweet by AFT includes a photo of Twitter rock star Randy Weingarten speaking with the Chilean president about education issues. So really a good way to get people an inside peek into what your union officials are doing. And this is really a good example here of how to share a photo gallery from an event posted elsewhere, like on Flickr, sharing it on Twitter by encouraging engagement by asking followers to send their photos to be included. So this is a really good example there. You can also share video links from YouTube and Vimeo on Twitter, like the domestic workers did here, and people can actually watch it right there in their feeds. This is really a good switch that Twitter did maybe about a year ago now, where you this is really a good article that they did it right there in their Twitter feeds. Before they couldn't do it right there in the Twitter feeds; it would just show a link. So now you can watch the video right there in their Twitter feeds. So you also want to send tweets that urge your followers to take action on an issue. In our email actions, we include a link to share the action on Twitter. And in this example, the steelworkers are urging followers in each state to tweet their representatives, including the Twitter handle, because remember, as I mentioned before, over 400 members of Congress are on Twitter about the overtime bill. So they include a link to learn more about the bill. So this is really good work here done by the steelworkers. Live tweeting from events. One of the best ways to use Twitter is to live tweet from events. In this example, one of our digital team rock stars was at the big immigration rally and covered the event from her own account. So we were able to amplify it from the AFL-CIO account. So live tweeting is simply like live reporting via Twitter. If you have a live event, bring your followers with you. Report on what you see in very descriptive ways. Take numerous but interesting photos. Crowd shots and interesting signage are definitely always a big hit. And we actually had a training earlier this month, I believe, or late last month, on live tweeting an event that you can get the recording and slides for on the website, same website we registered. Promoting an offline event on Twitter, definitely a good idea. If you're having a rally or other event, definitely promote it via Twitter and include images wherever possible. If another organization is involved, be sure to include their handle as well, like the machinists did with the guide dogs. That way they can see it and retweet to their followers as well to spread the word even further. And it's okay to promote your Facebook page and Twitter, but make sure you do it in the right way. On the left, the firefighters are extending a polite invite to fan them on Facebook for more content. If we sent out similar tweets that said something to the effect of, for when 140 characters isn't enough, join us on Facebook to continue the conversation. So that's a good way to get people to your Facebook page. Nothing wrong with that. But on the right side here is an example of what we strongly suggest you don't do. I would block the name out to protect the innocent. But what, they have done is post several items on Facebook in a row, which either have, they just rendered as just links with no context, or I posted a photo on Facebook. People on Twitter really don't care that you posted a photo on Facebook, especially if there's no context with the photo to entice them to click over. This is really simply not effective tweeting. Remember when I said that Twitter is not Facebook? Don't link the two so that the updates you post on Facebook also post on Twitter. I know it may seem like a great idea for the busy one-person comms team, but it really won't grow your Twitter following or engage your current followers. It certainly won't get any retweets. In advanced Twitter and Facebook trainings, we show you how some time-saving tips, including how to schedule tweets and Facebook posts and other time-saving tips. And those recordings of the slides are also up on the website. So you want to, nothing wrong with scheduling tweets and other time-saving tips, but please, kind of reconsider if you're thinking about doing what's there on the right. That's yes and no. That's definitely something we don't suggest. So now that you have a better idea about the mechanics of Twitter and the kind of tweets you should send, let's talk about a few ways you can interact and build a following. Start by following others. Follow other unions and progressive organizations, members of Congress, and the press and news outlets. Any organizations that you have a relationship with through traditional media outreach, follow them on Twitter as well. Retweet their content. Be sure to tag them in posts. If you're looking for where to find these accounts, check out Twitter List. Just to mention about Twitter lists are a curated group of Twitter users. You can create your own list or subscribe to lists created by others. Viewing a list timeline will show you the stream of tweets from users on that list. So in the AFL-CIO profile, you can find all the lists we've created. For example, we have a list of all the AFL-CIO unions, all the staff, state feds, and CLCs, and our partners in immigration reform, just to name a few. Lists are really great resources to pull together all the people that will be tweeting around a certain event, so you can easily follow and retweet. You can see at the top we put together a list of people tweeting, this is early in the year, from May Day events we had earlier that year, so we can easily amplify. So anyone can subscribe to that list and view all the tweets as well. And people can add you to lists, just making a note. So take a look sometime at the list that people, once you get up and started on Twitter, people will start to add you to the list once they start seeing your tweets. So take a look at the list that people add you to, and that will kind of give you a good idea for how people view you on Twitter and how they see your Twitter persona and the information that you're tweeting out. So we've talked about this extensively, but just to reiterate, 60 to 70% of your Twitter feed should be retweeting and promoting others' content. Other progressives, other people that are, your allies' content. So when you retweet others' content, a reciprocal relationship could be established, and you notice your account will likely follow you back and share your content as well. And they may also include your account in a follow Friday. Twitter chat, just to go over these a bit, are prearranged chat that occurs on Twitter during a set time and date. And there are some that occur on a regular basis, and people know when to join at a specific time. Or there may be one-off Twitter chats that occur around a specific topic. The person organizing the chat sets a predefined hashtag, which we talked about before, and people join in the virtual conversation. And quite a few times we've joined in Mom Rising's weekly Twitter chat around the topic of paid sick days or women's issues. And, we were identified as one of the chat leaders, and we joined in by asking and answering questions, retweeting responses, and essentially connecting with their audience. Of everyone participating, our tweets actually had the highest number of impressions and retweets. So it was great reach there, and it was a great way to get AFL-CIO in front of a new audience, especially as we're trying to really focus a lot more on women's issues. We enjoyed that one so much that we had to start our own. So we had long talked about getting President Trump to participate in the Twitter chat on the future of the union movement, which is very important to the conversation we had at our last convention. We chose the One You Future hashtag, promoted it heavily, and encouraged questions and feedback. And we really had great participation in that one and very thoughtful comments. So, we'd like to be doing that, more often. We're getting more of our subject matter experts on. So Twitter chats are definitely a great way to promote engagement and get your Twitter account out there. And lastly, just because you build it, they will not come. So you got to spread the word about your new Twitter account. You should definitely have a well-placed link above the fold to your Twitter account and your other social properties on your website. You want to add your Twitter URL to your email signature, your other social accounts. And I've even seen Union add social media icons to items they were giving away at conferences. So advertise anywhere that makes sense and think outside the box a bit. And so let's go over some final tips to get you off to a running start on Twitter. Before you run off and start posting every link from your website, remember that this is important statistic that on average, 71% of your tweets will be ignored. It's a hard pill to swallow, but that's just the way of the Twitterverse. There's a lot of noise on Twitter, but let's talk about a few tips to break through and get the most interaction out of the other 30% of your content. If you're like most of us, you're juggling 20 balls in the air and want to know the best times to post to get the most engagement. People have done numerous studies on this, and I will share some of their findings, but with the caveat that you really have to test what works best for your audience. These are a good launch point, but you have to play around till you find your sweet spot. A lot of organizations ignore the weekends in favor of the work week, but studies show that there's a 17% engagement in tweets posted on Saturdays and Sundays, and I can definitely attest that we do get a lot more retweets and interaction a lot of times on the weekends, because probably mostly, people are simply at work on the weekdays, or, they're tied up with their own work, so they don't have time to, maybe have as much time to engage as they do on the weekends. So definitely don't forego the weekends. This study found that Wednesdays and Thursdays were the days with the lowest engagement. But again, you have to test out what works for your audience. There is 30% more engagement in posts between 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., including the weekends. So try out that window and see if it works best for you. Brevity is great on Twitter, so keep your tweets as much as possible to less than 100 characters, which is virtually impossible, but this is what they recommend. And, you want to give, and keeping it shorter is great because it gives more room for people to do the old style retweets and to add their own context to the tweets, which is also great. So shorter tweets also tend to get, a lot higher engagement. So the shorter you can make your tweets, definitely the better. And people have short attention spans online, so shorter the better. Can't say it enough, visual content is king, so include good images in your tweets whenever possible to get 2 times higher engagement. Save the most important for last. Social media is social. It's a two-way conversation. Auto posts are fine in limited amounts, but people really want to feel like they're interacting with an actual human. So one shouldn't click on your profile and see a bunch of auto posts shouting me, 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 or the dreaded I post a random picture link, with a Facebook link. They should see plenty of retweets, the occasional reply, signs of life. So remember to engage, not broadcast. So, okay, if we have some time here. How much time do we have left?
We've got about 10 minutes left.
Okay, so I'm actually going to skip this last part and open it up for questions now.
Okay, folks. Just go ahead and press 1 on your phone keypad if you have a question. I'll see your digital hand raise up, and I'll unmute you so you can talk with Danielle.
Oh, that was bad.
Wow, she's in a snowstorm.
Yeah, she's. It says questions. Jennifer Lawrence is in a snowstorm, but she really needs you to ask questions. So I don't know, my gift is acting up here, but it says, "Come on, we really need your questions." So I know you guys have some questions, so definitely press 1 if you have any questions.
Okay, we have one from Kim. Kim, your mic is on. Go right ahead.
Yes, I can. Hi, Kim.
Okay. Hi. Thanks for doing this. So this is really basic. I'm at the very beginning of this.
Yeah, that's why we're here.
So I go on to twitter.com on my computer and sign up.
Mm-hmm.
But then how do I get it on my actual phone? Is there an app I have to?
Yes. Do you use you have an iPhone or yes?
I have an iPhone.
Okay, so there is a native. You go into the App Store. There's a native Twitter app. Actually, I think on most iPhones these days it's already installed. But if not, you can go into the store, to the App Store, and just type in Twitter, and you can choose an app. There's a native basic Twitter app. There's also an app called Echo Phone. But I would start with the basic Twitter app, and it should be the first one that comes up.
Do I have to sign up again on my phone, or will it just?
No, if you sign up.
My computer.
Right. If you sign up online, you've chosen your handle, you would just go and log in with that through the app. So you would use that same handle and Twitter name. So you wouldn't have to sign up all again. You would just log in this time instead of signing up.
Okay.
So if you need me to walk you through that, I should have put my I'm actually going to try to. I should have put my email address. I'm going to actually go back to the beginning. If you need me to help you walk you through that, I'm going to put my email address back up on the screen here. and you can definitely feel free to email me, and I will walk you through loading it onto your phone.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, but
One
yeah.
other quick question.
Sure. Mhm.
Well, I've got you.
Sure.
And you may have had this in there and I missed it, but what's the statistics on how many people actually have and use Twitter these days overall?
Let's go back to that slide. It's a million. There's 1 billion Twitter users, and on an average basis,
in the U.S., or is that
that's total Twitter users. So that's international. And the international community is really I don't follow that as much, but the international community is huge on Twitter. And particularly, what's been interesting is that the international community has really been using Twitter, particularly with stuff going on in Ferguson. They've been connecting with people in Ferguson via Twitter. So the international community is huge on Twitter.
I'm trying to think about, like, if I had a membership, I have 3,000 people, members in a particular workplace, and I started using Twitter. Can I make a guess about, like, 30% of my members are likely to be on Twitter? That kind of thing?
I wouldn't make a guess on that. Is there a way that you can survey them to find out? Would you be setting up an organizational account or a personal account?
Well, I'm going to set up a personal now, but also thinking about organizational.
Because there's a way when you sign up, you can, if you're connected with them via email, there's a way that you can connect with them via email. So it is actually, would you like to connect with people that you're connected with via, an email? You can put in your email address as a file, all the people that you're connected with. Say if you have a Google account, you know how you're connected with all the people in Google and there in your Twitter, your Google chat. There's a way there that you can, we can talk through this too offline, but there's a way that you can find out how many people are connected that way. But it's kind of hard to say how many people, unless you do a survey or something of that nature to find out where your people are. But there are other tools too that you can do kind of a matching service. We use a paid tool I think it's called CrowdTangle. But I can get you more information on that. That can actually do a matching to see how many people, say you have an email list, that can do a matching to see also how many people are also on Twitter. So, so there's really no rough estimates, but there are ways. You can contact me if you'd like to know more about the service that we use to do the matching.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. If anybody else has any questions, just go ahead and hit 1 on your telephone keypad.
Oh, I have my email address up there. Jeez.
Aha, here we go. Sam, go right ahead.
Hi, Sam.
13?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Start again for me, please.
Okay, when you're searching Twitter,
yes.
Can you search for, like, multiple people? It's like a conversation between two people, or one person that tweeted at another? You can, like, narrow down a group of tweets?
You would have to search. You probably have to look at their profile. Let's see. Let's actually try that. Let's pull up a thing here. Yeah, I've never tried to do that. Usually when I want to check to see, let's look at here. Okay. So, like, say we want to look at who would you? Is there somebody you have in mind that you wanted me to do a search for, or?
Yeah, it was a guy I know. Handle Wes Knuckles, and he had done a tweet about an arrest in Ferguson, and I was trying to find that exact tweet to make. I thought there was something in there shorthand that I didn't understand. Did you look at his timeline? I am, but there's so much.
There's so much, yeah. Yeah, I think, let's see, let's take a look at the maybe advanced search options as well. So yeah, it looks like under the advanced search options, yeah, from these accounts to these accounts. So you see what I did? Are you able to see my screen? Making sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the advanced search, from these accounts, so this is where you would put Wes Knuckles, and if he tweeted at, AFL-CIO, you put that there, and then do a search. They've really,
perfect.
Yeah, I just taught myself something here. I hadn't been under the advanced search in a while, so lots of possibilities.
Well, it's handy just to narrow it down when you're trying to.
It is, especially people that are tweeting from Ferguson. There's a lot of tweets, so yeah, that's a good way to kind of find there if they tweeted at somebody. Any other questions? You have another question? No, she was going back on.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, thanks, Nat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anybody else at all? I think you did a great job.
Okay, and I just wanted to say, I skipped through the end. This presentation will be up online. It was sort of just the exercise at the end was we're putting up 2 sets of tweets, and I'm sorry I ran a bit over, but putting up 2 sets of tweets and seeing which one was retweeted the most. So that's a bit of exercise, and I'll put a link up to, there was actually a New York Times quiz that they, put out that you can choose between 2 tweets to kind of see which one was retweeted the most, which one got the most traction. So I'll put a link to that quiz so you can take that on your own and see if, kind of put together everything that I've talked about here. And you can do the quiz on your own and, report back and see, how much you've grasped. But just kind of one thing I just want to say at the end, if you do only one thing today, at least grab your desired handle and, follow 1 or 2 people. I did a training at a conference, a while back, and I set up a union secretary treasurer on Twitter, and he just wanted to follow the AFL-CIO account, and that's it. He just wanted, to be there for informational purposes. He didn't want to tweet. He didn't want to follow anybody else. He just wanted to be there for informational purposes. So you may decide you just want to use Twitter to get information. Don't feel pressure to get on Twitter and, think you have to start tweeting and sending out a whole bunch of stuff. And maybe you just want to use it, for information purposes that to get information you can just take when you do door knocks or when you do other offline activities. You just may want to use it as a one-way mechanism, and that's fine too. So, but decide what interests you and jump in. You won't break anything. And I'm really glad you all joined me on Twitter today. In this training today on Twitter 101. And you can actually email me. I just realized I have my Twitter handle up there, so you can definitely tweet me. But you can also email me at dhatchet@aflcio.org. Again, that's dhatchet@aflcio.org. And I'd be happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Danielle. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks.